right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies might have inspired it. And today on the show, we are going to talk about A House of Dynamite, the new movie from Kathryn Bigelow, who is someone that I have somehow never covered on this podcast before in our 8 years of doing this show. Maybe it's because she doesn't make movies very often, but we'll talk about that actually during the conversation. Happy to have Michael Klug joining me on this one, and we get into a lot of great stuff about A House of Dynamite here. So that's coming up in a moment. Before we get to it, I do want to remind you, as always, to make sure you are subscribed to Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can follow us on social media at Piecing Pod. Also, don't forget to join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. And with that said, let's talk about A House of Dynamite. Michael Klug is with us to talk about A House of Dynamite. How's it going, Michael?
I am swell. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny. We are recording this the week that Film Quest Film Festival over in Provo, Utah just wrapped up, where I met you last year, but here we are just doing a Netflix movie. So,
yeah.
Happy to finally have you on the show, though. So,
Well, thank you for having me. I think we've been trying to do this since last year, and the time has now arrived. So, thank you.
It's always, we always got to make it happen at some point, even if it takes a while. But tell my listeners a little about you before we jump into the movie. Tell us what you do.
I am a full-time screenwriter. I'm a trained actor. I finished my first novel 2 years ago. Was a film critic for a good 7 years, which is how I met up with the Film Quest folks. There's just a lot of projects floating around in the ether right now, just waiting for something to get that all-important done stamp.
Sure.
For my own sanity,
That's always a good thing for things to actually come together and all that. I know how it is having a lot of irons in the fire, as it were. So,
which is a good thing.
It is,
but eventually, it's nice to have closure.
Yes, 100%. So, let's talk about A House of Dynamite. I mean, first of all, we'll get into the influences, the puzzle pieces in a minute here. But I mean, first of all, Kathryn Bigelow has a new movie out. That is always something to be excited about. And it doesn't happen as often as it should. I mean, I don't know. Why do you think she just disappears for a while at a time? Is it just simply that nobody's given her money to make these movies?
I honestly don't know. I mean, she's got an Oscar to back her up now. She's got a long history. So is she picky? Maybe.
Maybe.
And I mean, because what was her last film? Zero Dark 30?
I think Detroit was between that and this. Okay. But yeah, it's been forever.
Well, maybe it's because I based on House of Dynamite, I can't imagine her budgets are very cheap. So maybe it is a money thing. Who knows? Or maybe she's picky.
Yeah, that could very well be it. And yeah, exactly. Good for her. She knows what she wants to make. And speaking of which, she literally knows what she wants to make, because I mean, we look at her last few movies, The Hurt Locker, Zero Dark 30, Detroit, and House of Dynamite. I mean, she's clearly interested in something very specific, which is people under tension, under the threat of danger, and how they react to everything going on. This definitely feels like it's in a wheelhouse, and it feels like it's continuing on a certain theme here. So certainly it's possible that she was looking for the right project to continue that idea as we continue.
I'm not familiar with Detroit, though. It's in that same vein? It's not a war movie, though, right?
Right. No, it's during it stars John Boyega, and I saw it when it first came out, and there's all this upheaval happening in Detroit during a riot, and all these different factions of people all like dealing with different things, and the National Guard is coming in. I didn't see
it, but I remember it now. Now you said John Boyega, I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a tense movie for sure, just like these other ones. But let's start getting into the puzzle pieces, and from there we will get to what we thought about this movie and what works and doesn't, because there's some interesting ways that this all kind of plays out. But what do you have for your first influence? What do you think influenced this in some way?
Well, the first thing that came to mind because I just watched this a week ago, like 8 days ago. So the first thing that came to my mind was WarGames. And I think that the main reason for that, obviously kind of the setup and the control rooms and all the tension and all that kind of stuff, We didn't have, of course, Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy running around, but um, it was very interesting early on in House of Dynamite that there was the concern that this was fake,
Hmm.
right? I mean, I think they quickly got rid of that, but that was kind of, I think, where it struck me. Oh, this is very War Games.
Yeah.
And I mean, frankly, we don't necessarily know that it wasn't
Sure.
based on what everyone's complaining about. So,
Yeah.
but that was definitely the first thing that popped into my head. That would have been nice to have Barry Corbin in there. I don't know if he's still working, but I mean, it was yeah, that's what totally came into my head.
No.
Obviously, not as
Yeah.
romanticized as War Games. So,
Well, and WarGames came out in a different time when it was a little bit easier to maybe romanticize these kinds of stories
sure.
and the government
Yeah.
and whatnot. So, I mean, it's never that easy, but at the same time, maybe a little easier than it is right now. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's a great one to kick it off with. And speaking of that, like uncertainty of, what is and what isn't, and whether or not everything that they're going through is actually happening in the moment, I'm going to go with the War of the Worlds for my first puzzle piece here, as far as, again, something that nobody in the movie is sure exactly what's going on.
Right.
Everybody is just reacting, and I think that
Yeah.
that's what she wanted with this movie. And like you just kind of clued in on that ending, but also the other big thing about this is it follows the whole retelling the story three ways, and each way we get to follow different characters, which I know some people weren't super big on that either. But I think it's exactly what she wanted to do,
Yeah.
because like I think she wanted to see, like, if we just tell a 2-hour story of one set of characters, we know how they react. This way we get to
Yes.
see how like a dozen people react to this whole situation. And I think that that's like a really important thing for why this was an important story for her to tell. Also, I think this could have worked as a radio play. So like you've
Oh,
got that as
certainly.
well. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
So,
I love the nonlinear storytelling. If it's done well, like it is here, you can't lose.
yeah.
Um, and I think it's also a credit, to the continuity people and the editors and all this. It's like that. There was never a moment where I'm like, okay, I don't buy that we're getting the other side, because everything is so perfectly matched up with what we've already seen,
Yeah.
as far as voices and sounds on the other ends of phone lines and stuff. But um, yeah, I did. I think people were complaining about that, and I'm like, I don't. That was the best part about it. It
Yeah.
certainly kept it from being boring, which for me, from start to finish, there was not a moment of hesitation or non-tension. Like it was just constant, which was amazing. But I
Sure.
like the
Sure.
War of the Worlds analogy because it obviously something's happening, and these. But again, it's just it's unclear. It's like what is going on, and I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about the original,
Sure.
the
Sure.
50s. I mean, I obviously go to the Spielberg one, which I adore, but it is that great moment that Dakota Fanning says when they're getting into the van to go away, and she's like, "Is it the terrorists?"
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Right.
I don't. It's just interesting. You don't know what's going on, and I think that's extra good. And even as the audience, we don't know what's going on. So,
Yeah.
it's one of
Absolutely.
those, we're not getting the insight where the characters are not. I mean, we're all
Absolutely.
in it. Like, I don't know what's going on.
And
Yeah.
that is a really difficult thing to play off. And I love that about both of those versions of War of the Worlds. I really like, they're both great. But as a quick aside, before we get to your next puzzle piece, have you seen this year's War of the Worlds with Ice Cube?
I'm going to avoid that at all costs. I don't even know if I made it through it like a trailer. Like who's the lead
It's
female in that?
uh Eva Longoria. She
Oh
has
yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
she has like a cameo, but like it's 90% it's just him. It is the best. It is so bad. It's the like
Okay.
one of the best bad movies I've seen in a long, long time, and it's so much fun, but it's horrible. It's so bad. I don't know
I'm
how
at
they
that
let
point
them
in my
use the
life,
name.
man. I'm like, I don't know if I can. I grew up watching bad movies that were so
Yeah.
bad they were good, but it's like I don't know if I can take it as well as I used to. It's like I got
Yeah.
limited time left on this earth. So
Yeah, fair enough, fair
I
enough.
don't
Every
know,
once
man.
in a
But
while I need one, but
oh, I get
oh
it. I get
god,
it.
what a blast. All right, let's go on to another piece. What do you got next?
Well, I did also think about. I don't know if you're aware of the 1983 made-for-TV movie The Day After. Um,
Yes, I've never seen it, but I have actually seen other people talk about this in conversation
it's
with this movie.
it's um, It's mind-blowing. It's
Mm.
extremely difficult to watch. And that's kind of the other thing, because it's been a long time. I mean, they do show the aftermath, so we get that where we don't get that here spoiler.
Yeah.
But it's that buildup to what is inevitably coming, and and it's coming. The characters sort of know, if I recall, they sort of know that it's coming, and that's something that I definitely thought about when watching this or watching Dynamite. So it's just a matter of quickly introducing all these people. You get the slightest bit of character development, which I always appreciate, but then you just go in. There's no
Yeah.
time, because then it becomes a major world event, disaster in the making, and that's kind of why Day After kind of went that way for me. Like, that definitely popped into my head. But Day After is extremely graphic, where
Mm.
this one we didn't get any of that, which is fine. But
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that. I've heard nothing but great things about it. I feel like that probably was an influence on a lot of disaster movies. I mean, The World of Worlds
100%.
was, of course, and I was thinking of Independence Day during this.
Oh
Even
yeah,
though it's not an alien invasion, I mean, it is all these different people that we get very quick introductions to.
yeah,
We're running from the White House. The president isn't in the White House, so we have to go find him, and then all these other people that are like kind of people that work within the government and all these other
yeah,
agencies, and we get to them, we get quick introductions, and then shit's hitting the fan, and we
yeah,
all have to kind of like survive. And yeah, like you said, this all stops like right when something is about to happen, but up until that moment, we are kind of, it's almost like the first act of Independence Day, kind
yeah,
of,
yeah,
and a whole movie of
100%.
it. So
And I think what works too is, like, because, as a screenwriter, character development is really important to me. I'm like, tell my clients, it's like, it's the backbone, right? So what I love about these kind of movies is that you don't necessarily have the time to give them a lot of history,
mhm.
but you cast actors that just automatically bring this great weight, to, like, I mean, Rebecca Ferguson is just mind blowing in everything she does. But I thought this was great. We do get that little bit of her at home, the little dinosaur, just a couple of little things, which is enough. And then she just brings the rest,
Yeah,
because we don't have conversations about her past or her history once she's at work. She's
yeah,
just doing her job. But I think that's what is a real credit to it as well. That, like Independence Day, it's, we get a little bit and then we just move in. As
sure.
long as it's enough that you can root for them, you
Sure.
know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, what do you got next?
Well, this one I can't necessarily see it as a puzzle piece, because I don't think it inspired this, or maybe it did. I don't know. But I was really thinking about weapons, which, again, looking at the nonlinear storytelling,
Mm,
and that was the most recent thing I've seen that kind of had that aspect, and I
yeah,
adore that kind of storytelling. So obviously, I don't think that was a direct influence, but I'm looking at other things, like maybe Memento, other things of that,
sure.
where we're going around the timeline.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's hard to do, and I think it's hard for audiences to kind of get into it. It's like when you're watching a foreign film with subtitles, you got like 10 minutes before you kind of get your brain working back into it. And
Sure.
I think that's true with nonlinear, because most people aren't really used to it. Um, but I think it's a really valuable tool, and Weapons did it beautifully. This did it beautifully. Um, but I mean, I was honest. You told me look for these, and I'm like, I don't know what was, other than like Memento is the only one that comes to mind, where you learn it in different ways.
I'll give you one just right on top of that I was thinking of, and it's a movie I don't like, but I know a lot of other people do love it. You mentioned Memento. I was thinking of Dunkirk, which
Ah,
I find that movie to be very frustrating. I've talked about it on the
really?
show before. I just think I never care about any of the people in that movie whatsoever, because they're all just so underdeveloped, and it's really all
Yes.
about the war itself, which I get it, like that's what he's going for, but like to me that movie just doesn't work at all. But I'll just combine with your Memento, I'll combine with your Weapons, which I think Weapons is pretty great also.
Love that movie.
Yeah, I here's Dunkirk, which I don't like, but as far as trying to tell that story in different perspectives, and each one gives you a little bit more info about the overall thing. Um, and all of their stories kind of combine to tell what we're kind of dealing with
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
before we got on, I was like, let me look up what are movies that kind of tell the story in a nonlinear. And one of the first ones they listed was Citizen Kane. And I'm like, okay, well, that basically influenced everything. So
Sure. And Rashomon is, of
maybe
course, going to
Kathryn
be something
Bigelow's
that'll
like,
come
yeah,
up.
Citizen
Yeah.
Kane, we're all over the timeline, you know? So
Yeah.
um, I think it's such a cool device. But like I said, you got to do it right and you got to know what you're doing. And you got to be
Absolutely.
very consistent, you know, because if you see that little bit of, oh, that isn't what it sounded like when we first heard it from the other perspective,
Yeah.
you know, and like
That
I said,
throws it
we've
all
seen,
off.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, especially if you're a keen movie watcher, it's like, wait a minute, and you don't want to be taken out in that way. So, but the fact that you didn't have that here, I'm like, okay, yay, Kathryn Bigelow.
There you go. Well, speaking of things that, if you don't do it right and you don't do it with intention, that falls apart. I was thinking also about another puzzle piece here, those screen life movies like Searching. And for at least the first story, the one that's like more focused on Rebecca Ferguson, it might as well have taken place on a screen the whole time. We're seeing so much information play out on screens on these military computers and all of
Yeah,
the data that we're seeing. And there's so much data being like thrown around from screen to screen and emails being sent and all this kind of stuff. It definitely had a little bit of that screen life kind of thing going on here. And as technology takes over everything,
yeah,
it's important for that to be a part of any kind of story like this.
yeah. I mean, the other thing that kind of came to my mind is another Nolan film, but Interstellar, which I've always talked about. It's such a wonderful human story, but there's a lot of highbrow concepts kind of running around in there. And I realize I've never really, I mean, I get it enough to understand it, but I kind of thought of this in that same vein. It's like, I don't know if this is all accurate. I
Hmm.
don't know if this is legit, and I maybe don't even know exactly all the things they're talking about.
Hmm.
But I think that's always a credit to the filmmaker and the writers that you like, I can just put on that willing suspension of disbelief and just go along for the ride. You
Mm.
know, we're getting reactions from the characters, so obviously we know this is detrimental or dangerous. And I think that's always an interesting thing to do when you have a technical story that is your background, because I don't know the Defense Department and the Pentagon. I'm like, sure, so I think that's always a real testament to a good filmmaker.
Sure.
It's important because it's what's happening, but your characters are the ones selling it. So your audience is
Yeah.
just like, all right, I'm along for the ride. I don't quite get it, but I know that it's crazy and scary.
Yeah. Hopefully they know what they're doing because,
Yes.
yeah, which I'm going to combine a couple of puzzle pieces here. Doctor Strangelove, of course, and the movie from a few years ago, Don't Look Up, which both, talking about the people in charge and playing things like, can they handle this situation? I don't know. I hope so. It
Yeah.
sure doesn't seem like it. That certainly speaks to the moment we're in right now, which again, like to kind of bring it back to the beginning of this conversation, I feel like
Yeah.
that's like a big thing that she was looking to figure out. Like these people, do they know what they're doing if something like this happened? And I feel like
Yeah.
most of these characters are maybe they're equipped on a technical level, but like themselves as people are just totally not ready for any of this.
Well, you saw that all throughout from in every angle of it. You'd see these people that are, I mean, even the military ones in the opening scene in Alaska. I mean, I was kind of not annoyed, but I'm like, yes, they're going to react because they're human beings. But you look at them as these trained, almost machines, So it's like to see them react emotionally, and maybe that was her intention. One, show that they're
Yeah.
human, but two, to that's kind of jarring.
Yeah.
Um, to see them in this military position, this is their thing, this is what they've been trained to do, and yet they're still human beings, which I think is an interesting idea
Yeah.
in all of this. Any of these, higher ups and these leaders in the Pentagon and stuff, they're still human beings, which means they're open to human beings' mistakes and misjudgments and foibles and whatever. So I think maybe that's one of the underlying messages is like, as we see in The Fly, be afraid, be very afraid.
Yeah. No, and when I was a little like I wasn't as hot on this movie as you were when I first saw it, but it's kind of really stayed with me because I do
Yeah.
think that is a major part of this, and I do think that that is really interesting and worthwhile. That these people like they're who, for better or worse, are in charge of
Yeah.
dealing with these situations, and let's see how they do.
Yeah.
Because we certainly don't want to be the ones that have to do this stuff. So
Well, I don't know if you heard. I think because I watched it 8 days ago. So since then, they announced that Russia has a missile that basically does have that capability. I'm like, well, that was timely to hear that news
sure.
after this was released. And it was started. How long did they start making it? A year and a half ago they started. Who knows? So
Yeah.
it was a little jarring, but
Yeah.
it's definitely creepily and eerily timely.
That Netflix marketing machine. What'll they think of next, right?
What are they going to scare us with next?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Well, do you have any more puzzle pieces you wanted to bring up here?
Those were kind of my biggies that I had.
Okay.
I think that's the only thing I wanted to mention too is I think what's impressive is that, and this goes for very few movies actually, that from start to finish I was on the edge of my seat. The
Hmm.
moment she woke up and kind of knowing what the film was about, I guess you're on edge from the moment, and it doesn't let up, and then you get no release.
Yeah.
And I love that. I can't think of necessarily an example where it doesn't let up for two entire hours, which I think
Yeah.
is hard to do. And I'm always of the mind, if I start, my mind wanders and like, oh, I'm thinking about, I got to do laundry after this.
Hmm. Yeah.
If that never happens in a 2 hour movie, in my estimation, you've done your job and you've done it like really well. But
Sure.
I love those movies where they don't give you a break, and there were no breaks here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. Well, I've got one last puzzle piece, and it's kind of a minor one. But I joked in my letterbox review that they got to the edit room, they finished the movie. They're like, this came out really good, but we really need the Conclave score. And so they called up Volker Bertelmann and they said, "Do you have any leftover pieces?" And that's what this score is. It's like literally it's the B sides of Conclave, which is one of the best scores of last year.
I didn't even make that connection, but it's
Yeah.
funny because the score, there's always that interesting thing about scores. You want it to just blend and just
Hmm.
enhance, right? But then you're talking about this, I'm like, I cannot remember the score, like, which I guess is good, but then
Hmm.
also it's not memorable. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's literally, it sounds exactly, it's like he used the exact template of sounds that he used for
Wow.
Conclave, but just lesser pieces that don't quite, stand out as much.
Yeah.
But
Actually, I
yeah.
do remember there's kind of those jarring.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
I do remember now. Okay.
Yep. There you go.
Mistaken there. Yeah.
There you go. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up House of Dynamite. Michael, is there another movie you watched recently you'd like to recommend to our listeners?
We finally watched Sinners.
Okay.
I adored every minute of it. I mean, two
Awesome.
movies in 1 week that both perfect scores for me. Yeah.
Awesome. Hell yeah. That's great.
What
That's
about you?
great.
What have you watched recently that you would also throw
Oh
out there?
boy, what have I watched recently? That's always the hardest thing for me because my brain is swimming with all of the things that I watch, especially with all the Film Quest coverage that I did this
Oh,
week.
sure,
But
sure.
I'm trying to think if I watched something other than the Film Quest stuff that like really spoke to me. I watched for the other podcast that I do, Awesome Movie Year. We're currently in the middle of 1971, and
Wow.
I watched Let's Scare Jessica to Death.
I have always wanted to see that.
It's really good. It's
Okay.
like, yeah, it's very like simple. It's like a very simple horror movie, but like
Yeah.
you can totally see where even though it's kind of like unsung, it is clearly a big influence on so many things that have come since
Interesting.
then. So, yeah, definitely worth checking out when you get a chance.
Well, the other one I revisited for the first time since I was a teenager, which is why I didn't appreciate it then, was the 1981 Possession
Sure.
with Sam Neill and Isabella Gianni.
Yeah.
Still didn't quite get every little thing about it, but I certainly got a lot more as an adult. So,
Yeah,
but
that's a
pretty
movie
fantastic.
that is coming back around, and everybody seems to be inspired by it right now. I mean, we've got Die My Love coming out this week at the time we're
Oh yeah,
recording this, and that looks so much like it's like they said, we want to make Possession. You know?
really? So that's
Yeah,
the Jennifer Lawrence one, right?
yeah.
Oh wow.
It looks very similar, but
Yeah, Possession was
yeah,
pretty fantastic.
yeah, wild movie, absolutely. Well, Michael, tell people where they could find you and everything you're up to.
My website is Klugiverse, Klugei verse. And then I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Mostly everything will be under Klugula, Klugula,
Awesome.
on
Awesome.
the
Well,
socials.
I'm glad we finally managed to get you on the show. Hopefully, it
Yay!
won't be a year until we get you back. So, hopefully, we'll get you back sometime soon.
I'm on board, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at it. I'm just kidding. We're not going to restart the episode 3 times and tell it from different perspectives. Thank you so much to Michael Klug for joining me on that episode about A House of Dynamite. And thank you to you for listening. If you're enjoying Piecing It Together, make sure you're subscribed wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, wherever you're listening right now. Make sure you are subscribed. We got a lot of episodes on the way, including, if you're listening the day that this episode actually comes out, a whole bunch of Film Quest coverage from this year's 2025 Film Quest. So make sure you're subscribed. You'll get all those episodes as they hit. You can also follow us on social media to make sure that you find out about everything I'm up to. That's at PiecingPod, and sign up for the mailing list at piecingpod.com. With that said, let's close this out with a piece of music like I always do. I feel like I have a lot of really good, tense music that I could play. I'm kind of trying to figure out what would be a good one to play for this kind of a vibe. I know I've got some really big, epic, dark stuff that would work really well, but there's this track on my first album, Echoes in the Dark, called Reveal, that I've always felt was a very tension-filled song, and then when it all kind of comes crashing down, I think it's really, really cool. So I'm going to go with this one. It's called Reveal from my first album, Echoes in the Dark, way back in 2012, 2013, I forget, but it's a long time ago. So I hope you enjoy this track, Reveal, and we will be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
an All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.